Hey everybody, hope everybody's doing good. This is another great Sunday, and we've got a lot of questions to cover as usual. So let me just make sure I've got the right camera on and we are live. And hold on 1 second. Should be good. Awesome. Let's wait to hear my own voice. Drinking my own coffee. I don't hear any sound. There we go. Bingo. We are live. Hey everybody. Big one to get through today. And as usual, don't waste any time. So weekly Q&A, this is where I take all the questions in from all the subscribers and Patreon. Mostly Patreon, of course. And of course, disclaimer, none of this is financial advice. But let's first of all, I just want to talk about one of the top questions that came in from everybody. What is Bitcoin going to do in August? So I'm going to start with this little graphic. I put this up on Twitter yesterday, not to antagonize anybody, but really just to help people know exactly what's going on in the real world. And for people, not to give financial advice, but for people to be aware of what's out there. So this is, I won't put his picture up for too long. That is Scott Minerd from Guggenheim. He is the guy that told everybody that Bitcoin's going to $15,000. Now, I'm on the receiving end of a lot of people that regrettably sold because they thought they could get in cheaper because they trusted financial advisors. And again, this is not financial advice. These are the financial advisors telling you to sell. When Bitcoin's at 29,000, it's going to 15. Rattled a lot of people, probably thousands of people. He was on TV almost every day for weeks, rattling everybody. And here we are. Bitcoin currently, pulling up the real-time quote as we speak, is at 41,262. It had a little bit of weakness overnight, dipped all the way down to 40,600, and immediately got purchased up by everybody and is back up another, $800 in very little amount of time. And Ethereum is on fire and everything else. We talk more about those things later. But let's go a little bit further. So what I did was, as usual, integrated some numbers in here. I put together all of the historical August returns for Bitcoin. And in answer to the question, what Bitcoin is going to do in August, everybody, hopefully, I wish I could do a live quiz online, but you're going to see 3 red boxes here. You got your August 2013, your August 2017, and your August 2021. Everybody knows the 4-year pattern of Bitcoin, the halving cycle, and everything else. So if we are looking at equivalent periods, we'd be looking at those two, 2013 and 2017 year. And 2013 is looking a lot like 2021. Now, the returns in 2013 were about 31%, and for the month only for Bitcoin. And the returns in 2017 for Bitcoin was 59%. So anybody want to hazard a guess what it'll be this year? We shall see. So, of course, I'm not going to make a prediction of what's going to happen, but historically, at this season, especially after such a weak July, which ended up being a very strong July, we'll see where it goes. But Bitcoin went up 23% in the last 10 days or so, so we'll see. Let's jump into more questions, as usual. So how is it that all cryptos move so closely with Bitcoin? We all see it happening and accept it, but how is it logistically possible for so many coins to effectively be tethered to Bitcoin? Not USDT, but tethered as in connected with a line. That's from Ed B. Ed, great question. So we have to answer this with this one brilliant chart from Willy Woo. And what you'll learn here is cryptos do not move with Bitcoin. This is a misconception. For example, I think it was Friday's video on stablecoins. We showed that stablecoins don't move with Bitcoin since they are designed to move with a peg, like the dollar or a specific asset they are tied to. That's just one example, but there are also tens of thousands of altcoins that have lost value over time while Bitcoin has gained value. Now, Willy Woo did this excellent analysis comparing Bitcoin to 2,412 altcoins. And basically, this over the last 10 years. And the finding was the vast majority of altcoins do not move with Bitcoin at all. In fact, they degenerate in value within less than a 4-year period. That's important to know. So basically, altcoins, the vast majority of them, go to zero within 4 years. So bear that in mind, everybody, as you invest. Stick with the pristine assets, as I like to say. But back to your question, as the saying goes, Bitcoin is the tide that floats all boats, but not all boats float. That's really an important way to think about it. Now, in the short run, there are cryptos that move with Bitcoin, especially altcoins, close to the top of the market. And the reason is crypto industry inflates and deflates depending on what Bitcoin does. Some money flows in, money flows out, depending on exactly what's hot at the moment. So, for example, we saw over the last 2 months, crypto fell out of favor for many because it wasn't moving up. And therefore, there wasn't as much liquidity. Therefore, there wasn't as much price action. And that's kind of where we are today. So that's where we see it. So some things do move. If you look at some of my favorite coins, I analyze them all, my top 10, my Solanas, my Ethereums, my Bitcoins, my Uniswaps, Aves. They are not correlated at all. In fact, if you looked at the Chainlink action over the last couple of days, Chainlink bounced first, then Bitcoin bounced Friday, and then immediately I pounced on Ethereum, and Ethereum is now moving up quite dramatically. In fact, it's up $130 in a little spike. It's taking a little bit of a breather, but hopefully the juju from this video will bring it back up. So happy Sunday, everybody. Let's go a little bit further. Thank you, Ed, for that question. This question is from Grey Knight. When you talk about inflation and Cathie Woods talks about deflation, you've said that you and her disagree on this point. Elaborate. I get this a lot, and I've tried to explain it a few times, and everybody thinks, I'm crazy. How could I be going against Cathie Wood? And I honor the ground she walks on. But first of all, I look at things differently. This is Cathie. Cathie Woods has been talking about deflation for a long time. Now, Cathie Woods is heavy into disruptive technology, which ultimately will bring about deflation. But I'll talk more about exactly why we don't agree. So first of all, this is the economic roller coaster. For those of you who are not macro buffs, you have three things. You got your inflation when prices rise. You got your stagflation when growth slows and inflation keeps rising. And then you have your deflation when the economy goes to hell. And that's not a good thing, but I will talk more about that. The stagflation is a concern because that typically means GDP growth stalls or even falls in combination with inflation. That's typically the kiss of death. And the Fed right now, it's interesting to look at their kind of reaction to the market. They are kind of backwards looking in how they take their time to respond to the market situation that they see. First of all, they say no inflation. Then they say, oh, there's a little bit of inflation. Then they say, well, there's a little bit more inflation, but it's transitory. It'll go away in a month or so. And now they're saying, well, maybe it's a little bit more persistent, but they're going to take a long time before they move. And be sure, at least under Jerome Powell, they tend to telegraph what they do in advance. So the bigger picture, we'll wait and see, but they can't really raise interest rates because they'll be shooting themselves in the foot. Now, let's talk about how I see the future. And again, not in financial advice, just from my experience and how I see the world. So first of all, this is going to be poignant for some of you out there. Now we have inflation. The simple way to think about it is, woohoo, I got a 2.5% raise in my paycheck. Most people got 0, by the way, but inflation's 15%. I hope it's kind of meme, but it's true. What good is a 2.5% raise in your paycheck when your cost of living is going up by 15%? Then we have this one, stagflation. This is what I described. You got your economic growth slowing and your inflation going up. I believe this could kick in 6 to 12 months from now, if not already a little bit sooner. We've already seen a big dip in GDP growth already, and inflation is through the roof. So if anything, we're going to go from inflation to stagflation, in my opinion, unless the government and the world can really start kickstarting the economy. Now, with things like Delta coming in, that could be put in jeopardy. Then the third step, now this is where I see maybe 18 months from now. This is where what Cathie's talking about. So causes of deflation, two main causes, could be a global recession a year and a half from now. You guys have heard me talking about that. A decline in consumer confidence brings about falling demand. People aren't buying stuff, therefore prices drop. Also, you have technology, which brings about lower costs of production, like Teslas. They're getting better and faster at making those cars, and plasma TVs and chips and everything else, improved technology, etc. Maybe some falling import prices from different countries that are selling stuff cheaper. These all combined will bring about deflation, but we're a year and a half from that. And it may never happen. And same thing with stagflation. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope the economy continues to grow. But that's the way I see the world, and that's the way I am planning as we go forward. And any changes, you guys will be the first to know. So, Mr. Knight, thank you so much for the question. So talk about the new crypto US tax bill for infrastructure. I got this question from hundreds of people. Everybody's worried about it. Everybody's worried about taxes, US crypto taxes. And believe me, if the US tax authorities are going after crypto holders, the same is going to happen in Europe and other places. I know in Scandinavia, they're trying to find out exactly who's got wallets and everything else. But let me talk about some of this real quick. Now, I had to put together a mind map because there's a number of different dimensions to this. So first of all, it's pretty clear from this infrastructure bill, it impacts any crypto, which includes stable coins, you name it, utility tokens, any type of crypto. So it's extremely broad. Second of all, it also includes any brokerage, including decentralized exchanges. Third, it requires broker-to-broker reporting, which means you could have one broker where somebody buys a crypto and then transfers it to another brokerage. For example, I could buy Ethereum on Coinbase and move it to Voyager or Uniswap and then do something else with it. That is extremely cumbersome to manage that type of reporting. The fourth thing is payments or for amounts over 10,000. This, let me zoom out for a second. This is both a good and a bad thing. So obviously for the IRS, a long time ago, after 9/11, the terrorist attack, they wanted to track down all money flows. So any cash transactions of more than $10,000 had to include IRS Form 8300, I think. And this basically is designed to counter terrorism, money laundering, tax evasion, drug dealing, all that good stuff, any other criminal activities. So that's what they're going after. So 10,000 is good. But that means if your crypto transaction is under 10,000, so if you're moving $9,900 worth of Ethereum, and again, not a tax advisor, but it might be under the radar. So that could be a good thing. They're focusing on the big fish and the big money transfers. Now it applies to software and hardware wallets and the manufacturers and multi-sig providers and even miners. So the breadth is unbelievably broad, which means it's going to be impossible to implement. Another piece of good news. And it's so broad that even those who have no visibility into this whole industry, there's a clear lack of understanding by lawmakers as to how the crypto world works. Other things, customer definition to tax code is in question, i.e. does it apply, which is separate, especially if there's international transfers. People to be managed, surveyed and controlled, and obviously the government wants to raise money. The silly part is to force manufacturers and exchanges and wallets to do this and do it against each other is going to be impossible to implement. So right now, it looks like they'd like to implement it. They need money for infrastructure. They have this whole thing veiled as, oh, look at us, we're going to raise some money to build some new bridges and roads, and we're going to come after the crypto holders to pay for it. It's just stupid. But anyway, when they put these nails together, it's the first shot across the bow, as they say, and it'll be negotiated over time. So don't worry, it's so badly written, so badly drafted, so full of holes and unenforceable. I wouldn't worry too much about it for now. It's going to take them years to implement anyway. But it's a step in the right direction. Just do expect at least a $10,000 limit to be enforced over time. Okay, so that's the tax bill. Sorry to discuss tax news, but you were all interested about this. So this is from WinB. What is the best way for crypto to become regulated? Do you think that they will hammer Bitcoin just to protect their own CBDC in China? Now everybody's interested in regulation because they feel, as I said a long time ago, and especially when I had my talk with Alex Mashinsky, I said, what is the thing that keeps you awake at night? And he said regulation. And now the regulators are kind of pouring in. It's like, oh my God, look at stable coins. They're getting really big and really important. So everybody's worried about regulation because everybody wants to protect their bags, which is completely fair. That's why we're talking about this stuff. So the best way to regulate crypto, in my opinion, there's a couple of things. First of all, cryptocurrencies should be regulated in a new digital currencies framework because there's far too much scammers and everything going on. And it is a new asset class. So obviously regulation will come. But for example, as the IRS treats cryptocurrencies as property, and the CFTC regulates it as a commodity, while the SEC sees crypto as a security. There's a whole bunch of confusion out there, and they need to sit internally, get their definitions down, understand what plays where, how, and when, and then think about how to regulate as they go forward. And the obligation of the objective, at least, of regulation should be to ensure and promote fair and ethical business practices and to protect the innocent. But I think the US is all about freedom, and I don't think they're going to block the individual freedom by infringing on things like privacy. In fact, Jerome Powell, when he spoke about CBDCs and the Fed dollar, he spoke about privacy. But he's changed his tune right now. Now it's less about privacy and more about control. So we'll see. Anyway, what I would do, first of all, fight fraud without infringing on the privacy of users, because the fraud and the scammers are everywhere and they need to be punished globally with full force. And if there's any scammers out there listening to me, that's what I mean. Number 2, protect consumers through investment education rather than limiting consumers' choices and freedom. And that's kind of part of the whole Elizabeth Warren thing as well, of her saying, oh, it's shady coders. She didn't talk about the shady banksters that are out there. And number 3, I reckon we should encourage cryptos to be used as payments rather than telling people what or how they should be used. And encourage innovation rather than stifling it. Blockchain is coming. The world is going to be tokenized. Get out of the way. Support it, make it safer, but don't smother it to death. So that's my take. Thank you, Win, for the question. So here we are. This is another question. Your take on China banning crypto. Perhaps this part of the plan versus China getting hugely military, ready to take over Taiwan. Sorry, these things are copied verbatim. And the USA is heavily active in the Asia region. How and what effect do you think that this will have on the economic market, stock, and crypto? That's from Luna. Thank you so much for your question. Very interesting question. So there's a lot of China versus Bitcoin versus USA. And I put together a piece, I think it was a week or two ago, and I spoke about the new world war. The new Cold War would be completely digital. There'd be 3 players. There'd be the USA, there'd be China CBDC, and Bitcoin, because everybody wants to be the world reserve currency. So it's beginning to bubble up and happen more. China did ban Bitcoin mining and exchanges because obviously Bitcoin is a threat to its own government-issued central bank digital currency. Now, it knows that people will prefer Bitcoin to its CBDC, so therefore they just need to block it out entirely as much as possible. And this is not related to the geopolitics of Taiwan. Now, in terms of international politics and the effect on the stock market and crypto, obviously having superpowers fighting against each other in a Cold War is not good, especially when you look at everything in the US is pretty much made in China. And China invading Taiwan also would lead to a hot war, not a Cold War. The hot war is not the good one, by the way. And that would absolutely smash the stock market and the crypto market. However, the good news is this is very unlikely because the Chinese know which side their bread is buttered. They know commerce is important. They know as well that 500 million metric tons of crude oil makes up 70% of its total consumption. And that is imported. And that comes through the Middle East Sea. And these waterways can easily be controlled by, British Navy, American Navy, etc. So if China were to invade Taiwan, it would be very self-destructive. And it would cut them off from oil, which means they wouldn't be able to fuel a war. So, and the other scenario is nuclear war. I think they're just preventative methods. Nobody wants a nuclear war. There's too much money to be made. So that's my take. So great question. Thank you so much, Luna. This is from Morris. Now, this is an interesting one. Is it a good time to build a house or wait a year? I own the land outright, so that should be good enough to act as my down payment. It will rent for more than the mortgage. I'm looking to get a one-time closed loan, if possible, to cover myself in case rates jump in the next year. Thoughts? So I've been involved in construction projects in the past and have some experience in that area. I'm not a builder, but I know what it's like to orchestrate contractors and builders and subs and materials and permits, and it is extremely stressful. So first of all, the pros of building your own place is you get what you want and then you own the land. That's another big advantage. New construction has low maintenance. It can be very energy efficient. But the cons, especially now in this market, it's hard to stay within budget. Look at the price of lumber and concrete and other things like copper are through the roof. It is very stressful to manage this unless you have a really good contractor that can do everything for you and also get great deals and kind of do you a favor. And there's tons of management challenges as well dealing with contractors, especially subs. Also, you need to look at, depending on your location, I don't know where you are, but the cost per square foot often runs over by what you expect to buy an existing house. And what I mean by that is, imagine the cost of construction is $500 a square foot, or whatever that would be in Europe or whatever else. And if you can buy a house for 400 or 450 or $500 a square foot that's existing, including the land, it makes a lot more sense to actually buy an existing place and renovate it. But that being said, everyone wants sometimes their own castle and they want it customized. But there's other things to consider as well as the opportunity cost of time lost. It takes a long time to build a house, especially if you're in a place that has winter coming on. Not much building can happen if there's snow on the ground. And the opportunity cost of investing in Bitcoin and lawsuits from subcontractors and everything else. I've had it all, trust me. So you need to weigh up the pros and cons and everything else. It's a tough question. If you're trying to build a place somewhere like the Bay Area, it's impossible. You can't get contractors and they cost a fortune. So the cost to build a 2,000 square foot house would be far in excess of 1.2 million now. So anyway, just my experience. Take a pen and paper out and do all the math. There's other things to consider as well. And you look at the construction stage of exactly budget very carefully if you're going to go down this path. Look at your interior completion, your walls, your utility systems, your foundation. All of that type of stuff needs to be looked at very carefully. And make sure you pre-negotiate with your contractor and you have penalties if they run late on anything. Because that way it motivates them to get the job done fast, and time is money in this game, as with every other game. So thank you for that question. This question, is it possible with the rise of stablecoins that we're going to a future where all large companies such as Google, Amazon will have their own coin, and that in the long term the classic stock exchange will disappear? This great interesting question. This touches on what we discussed actually last week with stablecoins and other types of things. So first of all, good news is the classic stock exchange is not going to disappear anytime soon. It's been around for hundreds of years and it'll be around for a little longer. But in reality, rules will have to adapt around things like tokenization, because I believe the world is becoming tokenized. Everything will be tokenized in 10 or 15 years, in my opinion. Now, some companies that already are leveraging this type of model, like Nexo, their coin is basically a security. Binance, their BNB coin, same thing. You have other versions coming out now from FTX and Voyager, etc., Celsius. Their coins are actually making up a huge part of the value of their businesses. What the regulators are trying to do with that right now remains to be seen. I think they're trying to play catch up between the SEC and the Fed and the Treasury and Department of Justice. It's just very confusing for them. But basically, in other news, there are also projects that actually create synthetic stablecoins that are pegged to stocks, like Synthetics and Mirror with M Amazon and M Apple, etc. We know that Binance came out with their tokenized version of Tesla, but they shut that down because of regulatory scrutiny. So we'll see what happens. But the big tech companies could issue coins that are more for utility. Yes. I know Amazon is testing cryptocurrency right now in Mexico, and I see more tokenization of the world. So your question is excellent. I think it's too early, but most probably is coming in one form or another. And there's many ways to skin this cat. Rough. Love your name. Fun question. 1 week left of the Olympics. What country do you think will top the Olympic medals table? And is there any correlation between the medal count and the crypto friendliness? This is an interesting question, and Dr. Watson helped me a lot with these numbers. In full disclosure, I don't watch sports or the Olympics or anything like that, so I don't have time. I wish I could sit down and drink tea and watch the Olympics. But anyway, this is the tally so far, and obviously we're going to go into some numbers. So currently, if we look at this carefully, US and China are tied at 46 medals each, and this data is as of yesterday. And Russia is behind at 37. USA still has 68 medals that it is expected to win, but China and Russia have 39 and 33 for the remaining events over the next week. So basically the USA should crush it, and that's net. However, for the USA to fall out of favor, they need some athletes to get injured, and China and Russia, which is now called ROC, which is the Russian Olympic Committee because of some Russian drug problems in the past. Anyway, I won't go there. But we'll see. It looks very unlikely that the USA will lose. But that's the interesting tally. Now, if there was a correlation between Olympic medals and crypto friendliness, Switzerland would win all the medals, because I believe it's probably one of the most crypto friendly jurisdictions. If there's any Swiss out there, please say hi. So that would be kind of my take. So that's it. Now, in terms of countries, obviously we know China is not crypto friendly unless it's their own central bank digital currency. Russia also wants control like China. Maybe it's something to do with communism. USA is kind of on the fence right now. And Japan, they are kind of more crypto friendly. So sorry, there's no correlation between Olympic medals and crypto friendliness at all, that we see at least. So thank you for that question. So it's funny, in my very early videos, I always spoke about Bitcoin being hope. And we just sponsored Hope. She's an orangutan, which came into a facility, unfortunately, riddled with air rifle bullets. Need some coffee? But you guys can read. She's fine now. Anyway, I'm going to open this up to some Q&A. Give me 1 second. Okay. Just going to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, Minaxi. James, thanks for your amazing work and contribution else. You're so welcome. Switzerland. Love all you do. No question. Simply, you are so kind. Thank you. And it's funny, I just mentioned Switzerland and the Olympics. It was awesome. They deserve all the medals. Thank you. Bon Biggie, you're back again, buddy. Pretty informed about all the project invested in, but just a simple question of Curse of the Animals. Where is the bull? The bull is beside me here. And I can pull him up for you. But I keep the bull separate until needed. So let me see. I want to make sure. I just needed a second to gather myself. There. Kill that. Switch camera. Hold on, everybody. There's the bull. So let me get some more questions right now. Here we are. But I'm not bullish right now. In fact, I wish I could share my screen and look at the market, because the crypto market, at least when I started, it was up and then down, and now it is running up again, which is awesome. So, as usual, I have somebody here helping me as well with super chats. So, Joe Bird, yeah, Kiwi Robin, Monkey Money, thank you. Chris Sullivan, thanks for all the awesome content. Just joined your Patreon. Welcome in. I have a large position Ergo at a loss right now. Should I exchange for Bitcoin? Can you sponsor a penguin, please? Sure, we can look at penguins. We're getting a nice big variety of animals now, which is awesome. So, and a big thank you to K8 for helping me now behind with the super chats. So Ergo is not one we follow. Let me have a very, very quick look at Ergo on this one. See if I can fathom anything real quick. I do have sometimes a quick cheat sheet. And I have a quick look at the chart as well to see if there's anything. Ooh, that chart is ugly, especially considering the rebound and what's happened. And ranked 178. So, as you guys know, we tend not to rifle too deep. I think Robin says that, into the crypto garbage can, looking for names. I never heard of Ergo until you mentioned it today. The chart does look ugly. It depends what your cost basis is. Like literally, what I sometimes do is look at, imagine you bought something at $10 and it goes all the way like ICP down to a tenth of that. you got to decide, do you want to wait for it to rebound? If you've already lost 90% of your money, you may as well consider holding on. There's no point in the unlikely event that it does rebound back to 100%. If you've lost 90%, there's no point in ditching it at that loss, unless you need to claim a tax loss. So that's one of the ways I look at it. But if you have lost only, say, 40%, then it's for 50, 60%. Take whatever money's left, stick it on a faster horse, and then follow it. So let me see. Got a ton of questions coming in. Let me see. Ariane. Oh, they're coming in so fast right now. I can't even keep up. Let me try to read these. So Chris, hope that answered your question. Again, if you're 40 to 60% lost, then think about exactly where you go next. And these things are coming in so fast right now. Ariane Gasemi, 0.8. Oh, by the way, be careful with names. I'm not going to mention your last name, Ariane. But when you have crypto, do not publish who you are and do not publish how much you have. There are thieves everywhere and you don't want anybody knowing what's in your bag. Okay. Good job on the Bitcoin holdings. Average price, you are in the green, which is great. K8, if you could slow up on sending all those super chats, it's out of control right now. And thank you everybody as well. From Arian's question, waiting for another dip, buying the rest at once, dollar cost averaging. So right now, take half of what your allocation is towards Bitcoin and modify it. I became a very, very large bull on Solana when I did my Should I Buy Solana video 2 months ago. And the amount of positive press coming in on Solana as well is unbelievable. There's nothing but extreme goodness. You've got every YouTuber in the world now coming out of the woodwork saying Solana, Solana, Solana. You've got even Raoul Pal, Solana. His bots are saying Solana. So everybody needs to have a little bit of Solana if they don't. Not financial advice, of course. This is what I would do. So that's what I do. So take half of your allocation, get into Bitcoin now. There's so much positivity coming down the Bitcoin path, especially with Germany next week. Pension funds, you got high net worth investors. I think there's going to be more treasury announcements on top of what happened last week. So again, money continues to roll in. Plus the amount of Bitcoin on the exchanges is dwindling every single day. So all very good. So that's what I would do. Now, always be ready as well. Anybody out there? I like to buy low and sell high. It sounds really corny. But if you look at the wicks, the wicks are there because of market manipulators. Take advantage of them. You'll see the big spikes down. Like if you look at the Bitcoin range over the last 16 hours, 42,600 all the way down to 40,600. That's a $2,000 range in 14 to 16 hours. Take advantage of that. Be patient. Don't FOMO in and buy at 40 when you see it going to 42,000. Although yesterday when I saw it break 42,500, in full disclosure, I thought, oh wow, because it smashed that sell wall, went right through 42,500, which was my line in the sand. Once it got above that, I felt we were off to the races. We were going to go straight to $50,000. That didn't happen. It did sell off after that, but I think Bitcoin's going to take another run at 42,500. Maybe when the Asian markets wake up shortly, they'll start buying and we'll see what happens. Hopefully the Chinese can still buy some Bitcoin and they're not completely blocked out. So that's what I would do. Ariane, great question. Let me see. We've got people in South Korea. Don, thank you so much. Chris as well. Thank you. Let me see. Ariane, got you. Okay. Chatsar. You're not the only one who cries for that. Yeah. Sorry, it's very dry here today. Grant. Finally acquired a whole Bitcoin. Again, be careful everywhere with the names and keep your stuff safe, keep your computer systems locked down, etc. Okay, Grant. I'm in constant battle with myself to trade it for more ETH, but I realize this is a good dilemma. Thoughts? It depends. If you have 0 ETH and all you have is 1 Bitcoin, there's something about having that one whole Bitcoin. it's like an intact coin. Once you start chopping it up and giving pieces away, you may never have that full coin again. I think what I would do is I'd look behind the sofa, see if you can find some shekels, and then buy ETH with that money. But try keep your whole Bitcoin intact, because you'll be one of only 350,000 people on Earth, maybe even less, that will have a whole Bitcoin. So, Grant, I would hang tight. I know it's tempting to see all the other stuff run. Like if I look at the crypto market right now, and you see things like Polkadot has been on fire, Chainlink has been on fire, Uniswap has been on fire. All these things are beginning to just go. And typically, I always said that if, say for example, if Bitcoin goes up 50%, Ethereum will go up 70%. But some of these altcoins will go up 100% because they're much smaller market caps and a little bit of money flow into them makes them go parabolic. So ETH up, Bitcoin stuck. Yeah, I saw that. It's different. So right now, I think there's a huge amount of pent-up demand. One of the reasons I get into more Ethereum on Friday morning was because of the August 4th news of EIP 1559. Many people expect, kind of buy the rumor, maybe sell the news, but if it's a success, there will be a burn of the supply, which means there'll be a big uptick in demand. So we'll see. Gareth, thank you for all you do. Appreciate that. Any questions that'll get my mind off the animals? Let me check the chat a second. And thank you, Katie. You can hit me more. I think I'm up to speed now. So any super chats I do miss, we have somebody catching them. So big thank you. Let me try find that chat window. Restore chat. Oh, wow. It's coming in fast. Okay. Kim, TMC. You're so kind. Let me see. I'm trying to catch up with all these questions. Tony M. Hi, James. Goog or Google? That's an interesting one. I have Goog because I got into Goog before Google even existed. So just go with Goog. I need to look at that again and find out the exact nuance difference. But because I got in a while ago with Leap options, I still hold the Google Leaps, by the way, for $1,000 strike in full disclosure. They are straight to Goog. But I did know that Google runs a little bit faster. In fact, one of them was up 170 the other day and the other one wasn't. Let me see if I can pull up my Googs and see. Yeah, so Goog is actually more expensive than Google, but when I compare them both, they seem to track very tightly. Google is traded a little less frequently as well, so try buy Goog if you can. Thank you for that question. And let me see. Thank you, Guacamole. Make sure I've got everything. Shark Liver. Yes, we'll try look after more sea life as well, like we did the Sea Shepherd recently. And you guys are all very, very delicate. With all these contributions, we can do a lot more. So really appreciate that. Now, so John Pollock, Bitcoin, buy now or wait for a dip. Only got 10K. Again, I can't give financial advice, but if I was in your situation and you don't have any, take half of your allocation, buy now, and then use the other half to buy any dips that you see. But you always have to think of the end game for Bitcoin and where it's going. Like there was some report today about where they believe, I think the head of Pantera was saying Bitcoin goes to 700,000 in a couple of years. Some other person said it was going to 12.5 million in 2031. So we'll see. Aave. Yes, Aave. Very bullish on Aave. Becoming even more bullish right now on Solana. And then when we look at names as well, like Polkadot has really, really bounced over the last couple of days. I've been a little bit disappointed with Matic for quite some time, and we might be reassessing that position. I know a lot of you had questions about that, why I'm getting impatient with Matic. It's just because I think it's only going to be a short-lived situation, because everybody thinks if EIP 1559 is a success, there'll be no more role for Polygon, but that's not true. Polygon are doing a lot of other developments on their own, so I still think there's a great place for them, and I do believe Matic is going right back up above $2.80, $3 in short order. So that would be my take on that. Don't give up the ghost. And remember, actually, per the question I just answered, things don't all follow Bitcoin. Some have their own trajectory. And price target for Engine, I am waiting for about $3.90 on Engine. So Mr. Keyframes, that's the plan for Engine. AIB, is Coinbase Pro okay for my new crypto account? I heard their transference fees are expensive. Other recommendations? I haven't had any There's transfer fees of transferring your cryptos. They're not that bad under Coinbase Pro compared to other places like Voyager. But right now, I think Coinbase is really good. They've got a pretty good stable of coins to select from. Very easy to fund. And they do this cool thing where if you say move in, say $30,000 or $35,000, they'll give you instant credit before the bank even clears it. Sometimes some banks take 3 to 5 days to clear it. They'll give you instant credit, which I think is a very powerful feature. Cheetahs need help. Charles McKinken, and we'll look at Cheetahs. You are very generous. Thank you. Are you saying DCA is still working on downwicks? I think you need to be very careful. So what I like to do is pull up a chart, identify the history of wicks, look at the volatility, and try and anticipate how much things will go down right now. Unfortunately, the way we see Bitcoin today, it is so strong that any weakness is bought up immediately. So there are professionals that you're up against, like your Guggenheims and everybody else. I'm just looking at the chart now. Any weakness, and this has been the same way for about 10 days now, is just grabbed. So there's still a little bit of market manipulation. The market manipulation is very, very short. I watch the Bitcoin USD shorts right now all the time. In fact, looking at that short chart over the past 5 days, you can tell they're beginning to get into load up on some new short positions right now as we speak. Also, the Ethereum short positions, they're also loading up big time. So we'll see. When I look at the Ethereum short position, that makes me think that they think that EIP 1559 is going to be a failure and they're loading up. But we'll see. Maybe they also lost so much money over the last couple of days they might not be doing well. So hard to say. But yeah, if you don't have a position, the other hard thing to do is, and I've had this question a lot, is sometimes people don't quite have the discipline or the personality for this, and they succumb to the FUD and the information from people like Guggenheim that it's going to 15,000. I'll give you a simple example of a question that I got from one person. They bought Bitcoin literally at 61,000, so 3,000 away from the top, and they got beat to heck. Bitcoin went all the way down to 31,000. They sold. Then they saw it down at 29,000 and they considered buying back in again, but said, you know what? I think it's going to 20,000 because I heard it's going to 20,000. They waited. So they bought 61, sold 31, could have bought back in at 29, didn't, waited. And now for them to get back in, it's extremely painful decision-making process. So sometimes it's nearly good to take the emotion out of it. Just set your price, have your future expectation. Okay, Bitcoin's going to $100,000 no matter what. 1% chance it might go to zero, but 99% chance it's going to $100,000 in the next year or so. And then you can easily justify in your head, okay, I'm spending 38 cents on the dollar versus 41 cents on the dollar. And then it becomes easier to say. So we'll see. Thank you, Charles. Simon Arenas. News today that possibly the Fed will go after stablecoins while they come up with their own CBDC. Stablecoins becoming risky or not? I think with the SPAC of USDC, that's definitely safe. They're doing everything by the books. They have it backed. And I do think there is a risk that the Fed will go after USDT. So we'll see. Thank you, Sarah. You're so kind. But I just be very careful. Stablecoins, USDC, as I've been saying for a while now, is a safe place to park your money. Avoid parking your money in USDT. You're already seeing a huge outflow as well from USDT into USDC. And you can see that in the shrinkage, considering the market of where things are going. So Satwik, good to see you again. Got into Harmony 1 at 0.006 and now it's 0.8. Hold or sell. Want to avoid capital gains tax. We're having a Bay Area meetup. Yeah, we should. Yeah, if you're short-term capital gains, that would be very costly for you. Congratulations on your Harmony One, by the way. I think about that carefully. If it's long-term capital gains, I'd be more inclined to take at least half of your profits and put them into something else. That'd be regarding Harmony One. The tokenomics of Harmony One is not good at all, so be careful there. Let me see. Very busy today. Hey Brian, thank you so much. You are very generous. And Tim Kutch. Hey James, not financial advice, but better idea to buy more Bitcoin or buy another whole ETH and at the end put ETH profits into Bitcoin. That's a good plan because if I was looking at the expected value right now, you have Ethereum trading. Well, Ethereum is, it would have been great to buy Ethereum a few days ago. But Ethereum right now, let me get the price and calculate in my head. So we're 26.65 on Ethereum. I always said my target for Ethereum at the end of this bull run was 8,900. So we're a third of the way there. So you could 3x on your Ethereum and you'll 2.5x on your Bitcoin. So it's always in that 5 to 7 ratio. I don't know. It's so weird when I analyze 10 years of numbers, or the last 5 years, sorry, that Ethereum has been around. It's always in that ratio. So you could, but don't expect a big run. And remember, Ethereum, there's a couple of players like Solana coming after it, which could take some of the thunder. And there's still some risk with Ethereum 2.0 in 2022, getting my years mixed up. So I still believe the safest horse is always Bitcoin. It's the blue chip. Ethereum is number 2, but then there's others number 3. What you could do is take the money you're going to pull out of Bitcoin and stick half of it in Solana and the other half in Ethereum, because I think Solana could really be a fast horse as we go forward. Sebastian, thank you so much. Moonmake, deep sincere gratitude. What are your thoughts on Digibyte and Theta? So we had a look at Theta, and Theta looks kind of interesting of all the streaming plays. So that's so far positive, no negative red flags. Digibyte, we haven't drilled into yet, but I do know that's also one that will be in the next 5. What we're trying to do is streamline how we process exactly the number of tokens we need to analyze, and at the same time be in a position to analyze a lot of the equities too. So cool. Juti, what's your stance on Turing incomplete blockchain? I'm not a cryptography expert, and I don't know anything about. I know a little bit about Turing, but not Turing incomplete blockchain. So I'm gonna have to research that and get back to you, Juti. Thank you so much. Dustin Klein, my mom, she bought rock bottom, and she watched me bleed and jumped in. That's a funny story. Your mom is smart. So, and that's sometimes a good thing to do. I had people think about buying Bitcoin for the longest time. And then when Bitcoin went all the way down, they were calling up saying, should I buy? Should I buy now? And I said, yeah, definitely. 30,000 is a good price. Did they buy? No. So your mom's smarter than them. So Brian Mulhall, we want to get into real estate. Would you recommend waiting for a downturn in the market in the future, or just buy now before inflation blows up values? Well, inflation has already blown up values. So month over month between, I think it was April and May, prices increased 17% in the US, which is ridiculous. So that's already happening. And buying in the summer, you know, humans tend to be like animals, kind of they nest in spring and summer. But if I were you, I'd probably wait until between Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's always the best time to buy real estate. The market's dead. Sellers are desperate. There's no buyers out there because they're all doing vacation and stuff, and the weather sucks. It's not a good time to show houses. So wait. Not financial advice, but I would wait, Brian, for that quiet part of time, and maybe you can snap up a good deal. And always buy a fixer-upper. Always buy the shittiest house on the street. They are the rules. So Thomas Lean, do you know about EVDC? The future is electric. I don't know about EVDC. However, if you are playing an electric vehicle type play, just go with Tesla all the way. Don't dabble in other kind of players. That would be my 2 cents. But Biggie, you're back again. I have a pretty large amount of Cardano. I like to have my crypto in my hardware and software wallets so I have all the keys. Is that smart? That's fine as long as you trust yourself and you're good at self-custody. No problem with that at all. But also things like Cardano are good to stake. I started accidentally staking some crypto myself. I was experimenting and I forgot I did it. So just as an experiment, I think Polkadot and a few others. So, and we'll be doing an upcoming video on staking. But yeah, no problem. Self-custody sound like you know what you're doing. So, but if you have a large amount of Cardano and you want to hold it, I would consider staking it. Like everybody else, like the other 76% of all people that hold it. So, SK, I love you, James. Thank you. I determined my Myers-Briggs personality. My type is INFJ. Am I screwed for life? No, you're not. Not at all. I think INTJs are the best investors, best traders. I am actually an ENFJ, so I do okay. I think certain people need to be aware of their personality type weaknesses and shore them up with strategy and rules and discipline. And then you can be very, very successful. So you need to just make sure you pull out your feeling part out of the equation and become much more regimented and decide, okay, my goal is to get 1 Bitcoin and I'm going to buy dips and I'm going to put $50 in a week or whatever, and just make that your goal and stick to it like a workout regimen. And that's how the INFJs can get over it. So Rhubarb68, any opinions on Pulse Chain? Looks interesting. Thanks. Rhubarb, sorry about this. We haven't looked at Pulse Chain. We tend to focus on the top 20 players with some up and comers. We are getting a lot of requests for things that are really hot. We have an analysis coming out tomorrow, what I believe could be a hot one. And it's kind of a mid-cap play. So we'll see. But Pulse Chain, never heard of, I'm afraid. We will check. But we're very, very selective on what we go after, because if you start getting down the rabbit hole of looking through the garbage to find these flyers that will do 100x, you might miss on the safe places. And yes, you might get that 100x return, but there's so many out there that you know are going to 10x. So I'd much rather a guaranteed 10x than a 10% chance of 100x. That's my expected value calculation. Let me see. MPS Hodler, hey, just joined Patreon. Welcome in. Became a whole coiner. Fantastic. I think we had 5 whole coiners yesterday. We had 5 days where we went without any, and now we have 5. So people are still accumulating, which is great. Thank you for teaching me how to become financially literate. Sponsor Bison. That's awesome. We were just talking about bisons yesterday and buffaloes. Might go. I'd love to go to a trip to Montana and check them out. Adam, if you had HUD calls expiring in January, is there a Bitcoin price or time frame you'd sell at? Yeah, I'd sell HUT once it goes over $10 US. That would be a safe place, or at least sell half, and then you could sell a third of your position, and that will cover all of your costs. Maybe even a fifth will cover all your costs, because you could buy HUT at $4, and I see it going to 10, especially with their aggressive Bitcoin accumulation stance, which is fantastic right now. George T, how are you? Much respect for everything you do. Would you ever consider a Swiss bank wallet for your cryptos over a cold wallet? No. I think a cold wallet is better. I do trust Swiss banks, except for UBS. I used to be with Bank Rhine as a customer for a long time, and I couldn't believe the way they flip-flopped around their stance around crypto and the way they're only supporting high net worth people. But self-custody is so easy. Why not do it yourself? That'd be my take. But I do trust some Swiss banks, not all. So I hope that answers your question. I'm going to go wrap up shortly as well. I've been going for nearly an hour, and it's been a trip. But before I do any more questions, I was going to see exactly what's... Polkadot is still on fire. Wow. And again, everybody, when you're looking at these cryptos, at least the top 10, based on my top 10 cryptos, some of them bounced earlier than others. Chainlink was the first to really explode last week, and then the others are slowly following. Even Cardano's up to $1.34. Woohoo! Well done, Cardano people, but it's still way off. All right, Uniswap or Link, can't give financial advice, but Chainlink is the safe bet. It's omnipresent. It's everywhere. DWNTGMD. My mother's name was Hope. Bless you. Yeah. Bitcoin is Hope, and your mother has a cool name, and Hope is a lovely animal. Special K 366. James, are you going to the Circuit of the Americas, the race in October? Probably. I used to go. It depends on Delta. And I don't know what the situation is there and other restrictions. But I used to go, but I'm probably going to be too busy here with you guys. But I would love to. And no spoilers, please, because I know this is, the only sport I do watch right now is Formula 1, but I watch it on a streaming service, recorded whenever I get time. Hello, Z. Where do you see Cardano going by October? $3, maybe $3.50. But you know, if the whole market goes bombastic, it could go to $5. But when you hear people saying it's going to $10 or $20, I definitely don't believe that. But $3 to $3.50 is a safe bet, which is basically just over doubling from where it is now. Not financial advice, of course. And will Ethereum hit 5K before ADA goes to 250? Interesting question. Probably, yeah. I think Ethereum is a much faster horse than Cardano. But then again, if Cardano really nail it and show a whole bunch of projects, dApps and everything else building on their protocol beginning September, you never know. But the problem with Cardano is their market cap is already huge. And I think a lot of other players will start taking market share from them. Adam G. Hey, James from the UK here. What's your honest thoughts on Brexit? Do you believe it's really going to hit the UK economy? Or is it almost a non-event? So there's pros and cons, Adam, and you have to go into central banking and everything else. Britain, I think UK wanted to control their interest rates and their central bank policies, and they weren't able to do that with being part of the European Union. They saw some problems. They didn't like the fact that the European Union was funding so many other countries, and it just seemed like a money pit. I think being out of the European Union has a lot of problems for things like exports for the United Kingdom. And I also think the United Kingdom is going to lose a lot of key industries, especially in pharma and financial services. So from that perspective, not good. I think overall it'll be bad. But who knows? If the European Central Bank explodes, then the British Central Bank will be last standing, and then they'll have the last laugh. But I'm not sure if that'll happen. So, Adam, great question. I haven't studied too much, but that would be my take on Brexit. I do know things are okay for now, but they will change shortly. And I know that a lot of banks and pharma companies have left. They've gone to places like Ireland and the Netherlands and stuff. Charles Kincannon, any reason to sell GBTC and take funds to buy Bitcoin? No, it depends. If you bought GBTC at a discount and you don't want to incur taxes, just leave it there. Wait for it to turn into an ETF and hold, because it is de facto holding BTC anyway. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But again, pure form, if you have a choice and you can do it, it's always best to hold the pure form of anything and not a derivative. Kezos, how do you feel about Monero XMR? So privacy is very, very important, and I do believe in the Monero play there. The problem with Monero is real simple. It's never going to attract institutional money because it'll always be seen as something used by criminals, and therefore it has no upside. Therefore, I wouldn't invest in Monero. It's that simple. No offense to the Monero army out there. I know you guys are very passionate, and I do believe if there was a way of making Bitcoin as private as Monero, it would be a great selling prop. But again, institutions can't invest in anything that is in any way tarnished. Therefore, I don't see big money ever coming into Monero. Mr. Keyframes, thoughts on dividend growth investing versus crypto? Yeah, be very careful with dividend growth stocks. Yes, maybe like Apple, but the amount of dividend you get is a fraction of what you can get. I'd much rather disruptive stocks that generate 50 to 200% per year over something that shrinks over time. If you analyze all of the dividend paying stocks over the last 20 years, they've all gone down like this. So, and think of it this way. If a company's paying dividend, it means the management team doesn't know how to invest the money. They're just giving it back. It's like a share buyback. They're not companies that want to be part of. So crypto, yeah, Bitcoin, I mean, Bitcoin's been doing 200% per year since it began. How many stocks do that? Okay, there's like 3 or 4. So I'd be, no, 5 actually. So I'd be very careful. I think Bitcoin is a safe bet. And by the way, for Bitcoin to be on track to do 200% this year, I think it needs to hit $52,000 or something like that. So, or I can't remember the exact number, but it's not that far off. MP, hey James, what are your thoughts on gaming blockchains? SFUND just changed their focus to strictly this today, and I'm unsure about its profitability. The problem with gaming blockchains, this is coming from somebody that never played a video game in his life. I have no experience, but I do know kind of trends and stuff like that, is video games are very fickle. People fly from one thing to another. They get bored after they finish playing them for a while. So it's a fickle space. However, I do believe everything's going to be on the blockchain in the future, and everything will be tokenized. And virtual reality and all that type of stuff, and buying virtual real estate is a big part of it. But and I'm watching the Axis company, Axis Infinity or whatever, did really well for a while there, but it had a really crap week this week. It's down another 7% now. So yeah, video games, risky, very risky. You know, money flows in, money flows out. Be very careful. But that Axie Infinity business model, what fascinates me about that type of game is how you can buy tokens and give them to kids, and they can play the game for you where they wouldn't otherwise be able to afford to play the game, and then you earn off their 18 hours of video game playing a day. It sounds evil and sinister, but it's also in some ways perversely ingenious. So I think it's weird. So anyway, my take, can't really say. I will check out SFUND. We are looking more into kind of the Chili's of the world, communities, social, that type of stuff. And if you are worried about your SFUND, odds are your stomach is right. And I would think about moving to something like Chili's if you like that space. Craig from Dublin, how are you? Your love for animals, amazing. I'm with my 8-year-old son. What would you recommend for a child to get interested in crypto? Well, I'd start by teaching them about money and how money is printed and how money deflates. And then I teach them about things that are very precious and rare and scarce. Then I'd ask him, I'd say, hey, how many people are on this earth? 8 billion. And then have him draw out all the zeros for 8 billion. And then I say, how many Bitcoin are there? 21 million. Then say, 6 million are lost and 1 million's locked up. And then you have him calculate how many Bitcoin are there per person. And then said, would you like to get a piece of a Bitcoin? Because that's only going to become more and more rare. And then bring it back to comparing Bitcoin to things like gold. And then he'll be fascinated. And maybe even talk about some of the gaming use cases and how everything can be put on the blockchain and decentralized and immutable. I think that'd be fascinating for any kid. And they get it. Kids are so smart these days. Coin, I know you're not into low cap, but take a look at BPro. Do you see the potential? You are the second person today that asked me to look at BPro. And the reason I remember, because it reminds me of Wipro, WIPRO, the big Indian firm, BPro. And I did heard about it. I know a little bit about it. We'll take a look and see. If it is what I think it does, I do believe in that space. So let us get back to you on that. Maria Rutherford, I am a first-time investor. Is Dogecoin and crypto silver good to invest? No. Dogecoin is like going to a casino, putting all your money on black. There's no technology behind it. It's just social value. So be really, really careful there. Why do people have to rifle around trash? And I know Dogecoin is up there in the market caps and everything else, but just pick a protocol that is going after a huge addressable market, like Solana, like Ethereum. Or pick a pristine asset like Bitcoin. Don't dabble with the garbage anymore. Eventually you're going to be left holding the bag. It's like people that invest in GameStop and AMC. The end is not good. There's no fungible value behind the asset, and that's why I would never touch it. And I'm very risk averse and very conservative too. So, not financial advice. I'll say that in Dogecoin will go to the stratosphere. AE, what would happen for you to justify selling off all of your ETH and roll into Bitcoin? That's a good question. I would have to see Vitalik doing some crazy things. And I'd have to see something like Solana eating Ethereum's lunch. So, for example, if all of the NFT business moved protocol, and we're already seeing that happening right now. We're seeing things moving away from Ethereum to things like Polkadot and Solana. So, again, the universe is big enough, but if we saw a big outflow of applications, etc., using the Ethereum blockchain to other competitors, that would be my move. I still believe in the network effect. I still believe in the first mover advantage. I believe they have huge adoption everywhere, but everything can change in this world. And one thing I do know about crypto is everything changes very fast. J. Klaus, when can we expect your exit scenario video? When we get closer. So I don't want to show people how to exit for fear that they'll get out too early and miss an opportunity. And that would be very scary for me. And trust me, I deal with this question every single day. It's like, when are you going to sell? What's my exit strategy? What we are doing, though, is we're building bespoke exit models per crypto. And you'll be able to do things like plug in entry price, cost basis, that type of stuff, and determine how, depending on how far they go, when you should be layering in your exit plans, if you want to do that. But I do believe as well, there's a theory floating around. Obviously, I'm well bought into the fact that the cycle will be longer than ever before, but also the fact that we may not have a bad bear market. You know, if the money continues to flow into the space, like look at German pension funds hitting the market next week, and treasuries continue to buy, there may be no bear market. People are always saying it's already, the top of the market won't happen until middle of next year, and then we're almost through the 4-year cycle. So that could happen. We'll see. But Klaus, when I start seeing the danger signs, seeing things that are completely lofty, I'll say, it's like I'll do with equities. If I see something that's completely overvalued, I tell everybody, hey, I just shorted this company now. I shorted Tesla at 850 while Kevin was buying it. I'll be very transparent and open when I see that things are at a top, but we're nowhere near that yet. Matt, if you're planning to buy more Bitcoin ETH to hodl, would you buy it tomorrow? Wait for any better entry points if there is one. So, not financial advice, but if Bitcoin blasts through that specific level that I spoke about, the 42,500, and we are about $1,000 from that right now, and it sustains that, it could go straight to $50,000 because there's no resistance between $42,500 and $50,000. And that could happen a flick of a switch. Imagine just, what is it? Like the pension funds in Germany can put up to 20% of their money into crypto. They're not going to do that. But if they just put 3% in, if they listen to people like Ray Dalio saying 20%, yeah, they'll do it, but they won't. They'll do their own thing. They're hyper conservative. But if they do, and the amount of coins are on the exchange, there's not a lot to buy. So, we could get to 50,000 pretty quick. But it's a hard question. Wait for a dip. I mean, it's volatile. Determine exactly what your goals are. Are you okay at paying a little bit more than retail price if it does spike? But you'll be kicking yourself if it jumps to $50,000, and it can do that. And we saw that back in earlier this year. So, like once the Tesla news was announced, it just went straight up. So let me see. This could be the last question, I hope. Grant McDaniel, I hope I got that right. Liquidating all real estate investment this summer and buying crypto dip. Different markets, but sell high and buy low seems to supply. Thoughts? Real estate's always good to have. It's a very safe bet. You get tax deductions and good appreciation. It's safe. I always believe everybody needs to have 1/3 of their assets in real estate and 1/3 in equities and funds and 1/3 in risky assets like disruptive stocks and crypto. So I'd be careful there. So let me see. Matt, I know you're a fan of FTX, which took over Blockfolio and now offers the best API. Would you support my decision to move assets over from Celsius? Yeah, I believe everybody should have. I do trust FTX. They've raised a ton of money. Very safe. Just like Coinbase is very safe. Just like Celsius is very safe. I'd have no problem with that. You can chase return if you want. But it's always good as well to have a little bit on Celsius and a little bit on FTX and a little bit in cold storage and a little bit on exchanges, so you have that flexibility. Matt, that would be my 2 cents. Joshua DB, hey James, what's your buying approach to DOT, Ethereum, Link, Solana while the market goes up? Is this covered more in your Patreon? It is, yeah. So I share all my real-time trades with the Patreon capitalist community, and I also share my portfolios and my allocations. By the way, I did this retire on crypto portfolio on June 22nd, $50,000. That just hit $100,000 since June 22nd. So, and it shows you the allocation and how we add to positions, etc., going in there. So that's what we do there. Zeke, cheers to James for holding the ground. 3 to 4 months of bearish with an agenda YouTubers enough. Now they're bullish again. ETH life, yeah. It's easy to be bullish when you know the macro backdrop and you look at the big picture. So I think everybody, and you see that. Thomas Yankovic, hope I got that right. What do you think about H-bar? I know Hedera. I don't like the tokenomics. I don't like the structure of the team. I don't think the upside is as good as it could be compared to other names, unless of course they do get a deal like building the Fed dollar, which is the central bank digital currency for the US. Otherwise, H-bar is not attractive to me. There are much faster horses. Not investment advice, but I know there's a lot of people who love H-bar, like they love VeChain, but I don't. So, and I'll just say what I feel, what I would do if I was investing. Now, that being said, in full disclosure, I have a small position in H-bar. It's like $500 worth, because whenever I do an analysis, I put my skin in the game. So, with a couple of exceptions that I didn't. So 9%, 9. I was a whole coiner, but I sold half for ETH to stake and earn crazy yields. No, not necessarily. ETH is good. But remember, try get back to being your whole coin one day. You can speculate out there and make some good money there. Kurt, what ARK funds do you like? So next year, I think ARK-G, which is their genomic fund, will be great. But those stocks are very beaten down right now. But I think with Delta variant and some potential lockdowns, some of those, there'll be much more investment in some of those names like Teladoc and others. And I like ARK-K. So they're the two. But I don't invest in ETFs. What I do is I look at the 60 names that they hold, pull out the top 3 or 4, and then decide if I want to invest in those using options. So that's my position. Everybody, this has been a long show, and I'm going live as well with George from Cryptos R Us and Rob from Digital Asset in around 2.5 hours at 5:30 Pacific. So if you guys are around for that, it's on George's channel, Cryptos R Us, and I hopefully will see you there. Hopefully I can still talk as well, and make sure I didn't forget anything. K8, are we good? Send me a quick text if I didn't miss any questions. Annika, love from Sweden too. You're always here, and thank you for being here. DCA, that's the name of the show. And we gave it that show name because I wanted to incorporate the 3 different channels. So digital for digital asset news from Rob. We have Cryptos R Us, Cryptos, and Answers from Invest Answers. And we thought DCA was a great moniker to help people, dollar cost average where you can. This is a transformational time. These next 10 years are going to be bonkers, and you want to be a part of it. So we're lucky to be alive. Stay healthy, everybody. And I'll see you in a couple of hours. I'm going to go try to get some fresh air or whatever and get ready for the next show. Thanks, everybody. Be safe.